November 17, 2023. Very excited today. We have a really good question related to how to get a bigger bench press that I'm excited to answer in just a minute. Before we do, a couple announcements. As always, first of all, the Body Recomp Challenge, the No Diet Holiday Body Recomp Challenge is starting or is kicking off today. It officially starts on December 1st. And you might be wondering why there's a couple weeks between the kickoff call and the start. And that's because we have Thanksgiving in the middle, and I didn't want to interfere with individuals' holiday plans, shopping, all the busyness that goes on there. I would rather give you a couple weeks notice, head start. It'll also give you a chance to digest the information I share today, to start prepping for the things that you're going to focus on during the challenge, which is focused precisely on how do you build muscle, lose fat at the same time without dieting. Because, by the way, there is a form of body recomp that occurs while you are in a deficit. But my goal here is to get you through the holidays without having to diet at all. Okay. And that is an awesome thing. We can enjoy our holidays, not have to stress about it. Get ready for the new year, not think about having to have a New Year's resolution and, I'll start when the new year begins. None of that. We're just going to get the habits in place and some of the practices related to eating for your body, training for your body. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you have not registered yet, you can go into this post and find the link to register. It's just a Zoom registration link, which gets you on my list and the email list. It'll also allow you to join the private chat we're going to have for the challenge. That's where all the good stuff's going to happen, where you can ask me questions, where we can, I can share a bunch of goodies and freebies along the way that no one else is going to have access to unless you're in the challenge. There will also be posting going on in the group as part of the accountability process. And that's obviously everybody will be able to see that even if you're not in the challenge. So join the challenge, join the kickoff call today. Even if you can't make the kickoff call, join the challenge so you're on the list, and then you'll get a link to the replay. And again, since the challenge doesn't start for a couple more weeks on December 1st, you'll have plenty of time to watch that, get the challenge guide that I'll be sending out, get the bingo style habit card that's going to be a lot of fun to use, all of that fun stuff. And again, I'm going to be dropping other things in the group that no one else will have access to, even some things I don't even know about yet, because they're going to be based on the kinds of questions, issues that you bring up during the challenge. Okay. So having said that, a few other things. Today's podcast is out, episode 123 of Wits and Weights, where I interviewed one of my coaches. His name is Mike Milner. Many of you may know him. He's kind of a big name nutrition coach, and now he also is a business coach, but I'm not worried about competing with him. We serve a little bit different audiences. He's more about the mind game. He works a lot with women, and it's I'll say weight loss, but it definitely is a lot more than that. It's sustainability. A lot of it is the same thing we do, but I'm not worried about that. I wanted to bring him on the show to talk about the psychology of goal achievement, and we get into a lot. So if you're struggling with anything at all, from a consistency perspective, from a goal achievement perspective, I think this episode would be really, really powerful for you. So check that out, and definitely please subscribe to the podcast. Don't just download one episode, subscribe to it. You'll get notified. And more importantly, it'll help us find the show. Even if you decide you don't want to listen to certain episodes, all cool. Please subscribe or follow in the app. That really helps me. And always please share the podcast if you love it. And I think that's the announcements for today. So I'm going to unpin the last Ask Philip. And one more little thing. I did post early the video of the upcoming podcast. Don't you love that thumbnail? Eyes closed. Of the podcast coming out on Tuesday, which is about progressive overload. It's a pretty detailed episode. And then there will be the next two solo episodes, just so you know, are about carbs and muscle building, and then about female fat loss, because there are some differences for women and men, as we know, and I wanted to cover that in this time of year. So yeah, check it out. Subscribe to the podcast. Okay, let's get into today's Ask Philip. We're going to jump right into the thread. There will not be a thread posted for next week because of the holidays. I need a break just like you guys do, and I'm not going to do an Ask Philip next week, but Mr. Friedman will be posting that probably, I'm guessing, next Friday for the following week. We don't want to get it up too early, and you'll be able to ask your question then. But I'll see. I'll talk to Alan. We'll see when it makes sense to post it. The purpose of the Ask Philip thread is to get your questions answered, your detailed questions answered. And so please post them here. Now, we're going to jump right in. And there was a comment, not a question, but I did want to mention it because it was really nice. Ann Zimmerman, thank you so much. She said, I wanted to thank you so much for the podcast about Macrofactor. You've been using it a little over a month. Or I guess she has been using it a little over a month, helping me realize I was eating way below maintenance. And my goal in fall, winter is to actually lean bulk. And I feel so confident having it help me figure that out. I'm sleeping better, have more energy, more strength during my lifting sessions. So just wanted to give a shout out. And she hit it on the head. It's energy availability. So many people are just simply unintentionally dieting, but but dieting in a way where they're not really meaningfully moving the needle. And so they're just depriving themselves of energy. They can't build muscle. Their hormones are out of whack, right? Simple things like low energy availability are critical. And just knowing through awareness how much you're eating and how much you need to eat to meet that threshold is important. So if you're joining the Body Recomp Challenge, we will be tracking with Macrofactor, and you will learn about your body and what your true maintenance is to avoid that very situation. That's why it's a no diet challenge. We don't want to be in that deficit. We want to be at a place where we're eating as much food as possible while still basically maintaining our weight and getting leaner. I mean, it's where we want to be, right? So in this case, Ann is doing a lean bulk, which is just a little above that, right? It's a tiny surplus, which is also a state you can be in for Body Recomp, but you're also going to gain a tiny bit of fat over time, like very, very, very little. And you're really going to be packing on that muscle. So awesome place to be. By the way, I was recorded by Karen Martell again for her podcast, The Hormone Solution. So I'm not sure when that episode will come out, probably in the next month or two. But we talked all about low energy availability in that episode. So check out her show, subscribe to it so you get it when it comes in. And then she will be coming on my show. We're recording next week, and that'll be out early next year. And we're going to talk all about female hormones and probably like weight loss resistance and things like that related to peri and postmenopause. So anyway, I'm getting off track. It's all fun stuff. I'm trying to listen to all of you guys and give you what you're looking for, men and women alike. So we have one nice question today, one really good question from Carol. And you guys know Carol. She was on the podcast as well. You can go find her episode not too long ago. And she was a client of mine and continues to contribute in the community. And she's awesome. I think she's going to be in the challenge as well. So Carol, always love to hear questions from you. This is a good one for everyone listening. The question, how can I lift heavier weight on the bench press? Like, even if I didn't read the rest of her question, I have a very solid answer for you I wanted to go over, but we'll get there. Let's read her question. I am currently in maintenance, and my goal is to build muscle. I strength train 4 days a week with programming that incorporates compound lifts and accessory movements. Great. So she's doing 4-day split, most likely Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, which means you're probably benching once a week, because most 4-day splits will have like a bench day, a squat day, maybe a press day or a shoulder day, and a deadlift day, like a hinge day. So that's usually what they look like. I've seen good gains in maintenance with all my so I mean, she's at maintenance, eating at maintenance, Body Recomp, right? With all my compound lifts, but I feel progress is slower with a bench press. I do this movement 1 day a week. So there we go. And it's always first in my session, which is good. You always want to prioritize the lifts that you want to push. So I warm up with sets of increasing weight first, then do 3 sets of 5. This past week, I did 107 as my set weight. I do progressive overload. So this was an increase in weight of 1 pound from the previous week. My question is, how can I lift heavier weight? Is 1 pound a week actually realistic? And maybe I'm expecting too much. That's actually a good sub question. The fact that the amount of weight you add to the bar each session is a variable that you want to select appropriately. Because if you go too high and then you fail reps, you've actually gone past the overload threshold, right? You've actually overloaded, so to speak. However, 1 pound is still pretty small. And I know you're kind of a lighter body weight. Like you said it down here in the question, you weigh 122. So 1 pound relative to you is higher than for somebody else, but not that much, right? It's still a small amount of weight. Like that's, I would never even go below 1 pound. Usually I would not even go below maybe 2. But when you get to be intermediate, advanced, and you're really pushing the weight, then it might be a pound or 2. However, you're benching 107, which isn't even yet your body weight. And I'm not criticizing you at all. I'm saying that I feel your frustration that you want to push it more, right? So like, when I take people through a starting strength type program, they usually can get to their body weight and then some on the bench in several months. So we're going to talk about frequency as one of the elements, because the fact that you're doing once a week may be too infrequent. You may not be strong enough yet that you've exhausted your gains, and therefore you're actually getting detrained between sessions, or at least not maintaining all the strength. For reference, I train fasted in the morning by myself, so there's no one to spot me. I do have safety bars, and that's okay. If you have safety bars and you know for a fact that if you failed the rep, you can just set them down around, like it's going to be around your neck area, right? Because your chest is going to be probably too high, but like just above your, like maybe your sternum area where you can set it down. That's fine. I'm 5'3", weigh 122. I track with Macro Factor. I'm usually at 2,200 calories a day. When I train my lifts, I perform an RPE of 9. And by the way, I know you didn't ask about nutrition, but I do want to make sure, Carol, that you are getting plenty of carbs late in the day before. So like you're shifting your carbs to late in the day and then right after your workout. Those are the two spots that I would want you to have the carbs. Okay, so I put together a little guide that I'm going to go through right now, how to increase your bench press. And this is heavily inspired by my own experience in programming, my own coach, Andy Baker, some articles that I re-referenced, and the programming that I'm currently following today, but I think the principle of it will still apply to you. And we're going to go over those right now. So the first thing, and I already mentioned this, is frequency. Okay. I think you need to be benching twice a week. So if you're only benching once a week, right there, that can make all the difference. At the very least, the second day can maintain your strength on the bench. You're not trying to max it out both days. Okay. Now, given that you still have some strength to go based on your being less than 1 times your body weight in your bench, maybe you can hit it hard twice a week. And a lot of what I'm saying here is what you'll do later. And so my first and foremost suggestion is simply to do your 3x5 bench on Monday, and then on Thursday bench again, and maybe go a little bit lighter and a little bit higher reps, like maybe 3x8 to 12. That's a very, very simple approach that you can start with without making it complicated, and see if that starts to push your bench. All right. But now I'm going to add in other things that will help. Okay. So volume and intensity. I did just say, if you increase the frequency, you by definition increase your volume. So I like the heavy sets early in the week, sets of 5, and maybe you need a 4th set, right? We talk about progressive overload. You could always add a set. Maybe you need a 4th set, potentially. So we call this the intensity session, and you're going to have assistance work after that. And I know your programming already has that, but you want to make sure the assistance work you do directly supports the bench. We'll talk about that. And then later in the week, probably your Thursday session, you would do volume. So this is focused more on speed and technique. And again, more assistance work. Okay. Then, as far as the assistance exercises, what muscles are involved in the bench press? Well, the triceps are a big one, right? All the pectoral muscles, of course. Your lats are involved, actually your delts. So there's kind of a whole systemic relationship here. Even your traps are involved to some extent, but I like adding extra bench work in the form of dumbbells, like dumbbell presses, flat benches, incline benches, decline benches. I love dips. Okay. Not everybody can do them or do them well, but when we talk about dips, you can do them in a more forward leaning angle where they hit more of the lower pec, or you can do them a more vertical angle where it's more on your triceps, and both support the bench. There is a protocol back in the day by Bill Starr where you would actually really focus on getting weighted dips up pretty heavy. Like in that case, we're talking about males that were really trying to push their bench, and they would get up to sets of 100 pounds hanging from them doing dips, right? And then that pushes your overhead press, but it could also push your bench press. All right. And then tricep work. And my favorite tricep work is overhead extensions and line tricep extensions, especially with an easy curl bar where you can load it up a little bit more. But there's also tricep press downs. There's even kickbacks. Some people like kickbacks. I mean, some people will say that they're not as effective, but Always experiment. And then your lats, right, through pull-ups, chin-ups, and pull-downs, lat pull-downs. And then your rear delts can also improve the stability and power of your relationship to the bench, having those tight shoulders on the bench, your butt on the bench, that little bit of an arch, that supportive arch. And then really, really pushing not from the shoulders, right, but pushing by, not pushing your shoulders forward, but really getting those pecs involved. Kind of the mind muscle connection, right? There is value to that. Okay. Then the exercise variation, I do like potentially rotating through different things if needed. Now, again, you may be at the point where you just do the normal bench, add the extra day, you're golden, right? But if you start getting fatigued or feel like it's not moving, you can do close grip bench, right? You can do a wider grip bench. You could do specialty bars like a cambered bar where it bends, and then you actually could widen. You can come deeper into the bottom of the bench and thus put even more stress on your pecs. And then you could use bands and chains. So there's a lot of, hopefully I'm not overwhelming you or anybody watching with this, but there's definitely a lot of options to do this. Now, what I'm going to show you next is what I like to do based on what I've learned from my coach, Andy Baker. And oops, that's a new one. So I mentioned intensity day and volume day. And on the intensity day, you're going to have basically something really heavy, some back off work that's like medium heavy, and then your assistance work. And then on Thursday, you're going to do lighter stuff, and you may use bands and chains. And then again, assistance work. And you can split it however you want. Like you'd have chest and back work on one day, and shoulders and triceps on another, so that it aligns with your 4-day split already. And then if we look at an example week of the program that I follow, which is a Westside style conjugate program, it gives you a good idea of like what could work if you want a lot of focus on the things that support bench press. Okay. And so you can look at these exercises and say, how can I incorporate that into my current programming, or talk to my coach if you've got a personal trainer on doing this. Okay. So if you look at the intensity day, one thing you can do is you can either rotate each week between triples, doubles, and singles. So I know you've been doing 5s, but here's a place to really push it. Go with triples, right? Instead of do a 3x5, do a 5x3. Instead of doing 3x5, do a 6x2, or what should I say? Like we want it to be roughly similar volume, so like an 8x2, 7x2, something like that, right? You could do singles. You could do like 10 or 15 singles, or you can do what I do, which is I work up to a 1 RM for that day, right? It may not be your all-time 1 RM, but the 1 RM for that day. And then you do your back offsets based on that, right? That based on a percentage of that. So those are 1 RM is not singles. It's one single as heavy as you can for that day. Singles would be like 90%, but many sets, right? And then you would do more benching, but you would use a lighter weight relative to that. So like around 75, 85%, and a 3 set of 5. So see what I'm doing here? I'm adding a very high intensity, high stress version of the bench, and then doing kind of your normal volume, still heavy approach. And then the accessory stuff, right? Dips, chest press with the dumbbells, row variations for your back, face pulls or rear delt raises for your delts. I mean, there's so many other exercises I can add in here, but this is just a good example. Then on Thursday, you're going to do the speed bench press. So here you're going lighter, not super light, but like, let's say you benched, 115 on this day. Here it might be like 95. I don't know. I can't do the math in my head, but it's medium intensity, not heavy, right? But you're doing more volume for, so like 10 sets of 3, for example, or 10 sets of 2-3 reps, or like 6 sets of 5, right? Whatever makes sense. Roughly 30 reps. And in this case, you're going to come down nice and slow, 1 or 2 second eccentric, maybe pause if you need to, and then explode up into the rep. And this is kind of practicing your power and your speed stuff. And then again, you can add in shoulder presses. You can do more of the shoulder and back work and tricep work here. So notice that I have back work in both workouts. They're just different type of back work, right? Like this is more lats and this is more mid back, let's say. And yeah, so lat pull downs or pull ups and chin ups, depending on what your strength is, and tricep extensions or any other tricep variant. So I think I spent long enough on this, but you get the idea. It's really a matter of the frequency and support movements. And I think that'll get you there, Carol. So let me know what you think. This is not in a separate guide. I could always put it in one. You definitely have this video. You can just pause and take a look at what I have here. And let me know in the comment on this video, Carol, what you thought and how you are going to change your programming to do this. And then let us know after, a few weeks, if you've been able to push your bench more. All right. With that, I'm going to call it a day for Ask Philip. Looking forward to seeing everyone in the challenge call today, and happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you before then, for those who celebrate it. Happy week otherwise for the rest of you, and we'll talk soon.